freedom that was founded when the nation was made. Okay, can I give it to Peyton, or want to give it to somebody else?
Sure. Let's hear from the rest of y'all. I mean, we don't have to write the second, but find your times to chime in.
That is true. But it wasn't mostly because the South wanted independence from the Union. It was mostly because the South had a disagreement between anti-federalism and federalism. Because the Union wanted federalism, which meant that mostly government control, like country. But then the South wanted anti-federalism, which was a belief in against federalism, and they wanted states' rights. Federalism is a belief in the control of the control mostly to the government.
The federal government. And so government in Washington, D.C.
And also the South believed in states' rights, which the North didn't agree with. They believed in mostly the government should control everything. But the belief in states' rights said that the South, all the different states should have...
Let a brother finish.
That the states should have power and they should govern their own selves, but still form one nation at the same time. But then, wait, hold on, I'm not finished. And then, but the reason why they seceded mostly because of this, and it wasn't because they wanted freedom to decide how they should run their government. It was a political and economic disagreement.
All right, let's get to Annalise. Well, very, very clearly, eloquently said, Peyton.
That actually was a good point. But
shh.
When the South seceded from the Union, it was kind of because they were kind of afraid that Abraham Lincoln was going to take away their freedom to own slaves. They were afraid of, and they wanted their own freedom of economics and stuff, so they could earn money their own way with slave trade, and that's how they earn money with a lot of slave labor to do some more agriculture. Well, the North wanted more factory-based stuff, I guess. I can't remember the word now. But
So can I ask a question to the it was a war for freedom side? Okay, and this will be from their perspective. Is it really a war for freedom when kind of the underpinning issue here is slavery? I think we can all agree that all these reasons kind of come back to slavery. Can it really be about freedom if these issues come back to like involuntary servitude? Can the war be about freedom if it all comes back to that? And if you want to pass it to a teammate, that's fine. I want to throw that out there to you guys.
I think it does sort of lead to slavery because it freed the slaves at the end of the war. Like the war freed the slaves, and then
Okay, all right. So in the end, they became free.
Yeah.
So it was a war for freedom. Okay, all right. Let's go to this side. We'll go to Maddie.
Well, can I go back to what Annalise said?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, so she said that for the South, it was the Southerners' freedom to own slaves. But on the flip side of that, what about the slaves? Technically, it wasn't their freedom to be. They weren't being free if they were being enslaved by someone just because it was their freedom to enslave them.
Can you say that just again and just kind of maybe slow down? And I want to make sure they all hear it. It sounded confusing, but it's not.
Okay, so if it's the freedom of a Southerner to own slaves, then it also means that it's like wrong because it's right in that sense, but the slaves are being enslaved by someone, which goes against their freedom. So it kind of goes both ways, making it not just about someone's freedom, about someone's rights, and about if we had a federalist government, if we would be more equal.
Okay, so if I can, I don't want to put words in your mouth, so stop me if I am. But what I'm hearing you say is that, admittedly, this freeing slaves was an issue. That was part of it, and freeing slaves was an issue for the war. However, it wasn't the primary purpose of the war. It had to do more with Southerners' disagreement with their rights being taken away.
Yeah, and go with the Constitution.
Okay.
And although it was like their rights in the Constitution, it also goes against the Constitution with the slavery.
Okay, so just because slavery was going to be abolished, we know that happens in the end, doesn't necessarily make the war about that. There are bigger issues that really forced the war to happen. Pass it. Let's see. We haven't heard from Justin yet.
Alright, so, it might not have just been about slavery, because they also wanted political and economic freedom too. And, with that, they wanted to be free to do slavery, and slavery was also a big part of their economy. So, they needed to.
Well said. Okay, so you're bringing up political and economic freedoms. Let's come on over here. Is there somebody else other than Peyton and Maddie?
They're originally on my team. You guys have to say something.
I have something to mention.
Oh, thank you.
Go ahead, Justin. Go ahead. Choose somebody to pass on.
Thank you.
Does Austin want to talk?
No, we have
You just want to catch it. No, you say it. You say it. Here, Peyton, let him say it. He hasn't spoken yet.
Go.
You're gonna do fine. You're gonna do great. You're gonna do great. If it's the same thing, say it.
Eat the talking.
I have no idea.
No.
That was. Hold on, Peyton. Pause.
Like a while ago.
Chime in and respond.
So can I go?
Go ahead.
Okay, so in the end, if it was a war for freedom, then it would be about that the Union wasn't allowing the South to do anything, because the South really wasn't permitted from not doing anything or forbidden from doing anything.
What do you mean by doing anything?
Like their rights weren't getting taken away. Their major their rights weren't getting taken away. The North wasn't stopping them from doing anything. So
Except the North was trying to stop.
what? Slavery.
Okay.
But the North, that wasn't the main issue. Most of it was because of the economic and political disagreements. So, since it was about that, it would not be considered a war for freedom. It would just been a war about disagreement and how the country should be run. It's like saying, "Oh, I'm going to be your friend, but if we don't disagree with something, I'm not going to talk to you. And we'll just go to war and argue about something."
Okay. So you're saying okay. All right. Let's get. I see some new hands. I see Harrison. I see Janae. I see Allison. These are all people that haven't really talked yet.
Allison is don't.
Yeah, kind of.
Oh, I need to go now.
There's lots of hands, guys. We're gonna try to get to you. We're doing our best. Go ahead, Nene.
Which Peyton said that it wasn't a war for freedom, but
Shh,
what
Harrison.
I would like to bring
Harrison.
up is that when you are fighting for something that you believe in, then I think you're showing something that you want to happen. The South wasn't wanting to, the North wasn't wanting to just say that, no, you can't secede because you wanted slavery. No, they just wanted to make a united nation, and they were trying to listen to them at first, but they then got into too many political tensions between the two, and then they started to fight.
Okay. All right. Let's go. Pass the stick. Oh, no. To other team. Other side. Looks like Maddie.
Okay. So like what Peyton said. So they weren't technically taking away the Southern state rights, like you guys are saying. They were just trying to make the South more equal, and I guess it was more of a war to keep the Union together and more for equality between all people, because even abolishing slavery does that. And yes, that has to do with freedom, but you can't just say that they were taking their rights away, because yes, that's one way they're taking their rights away, but they were also following the Constitution by making it more equal.
We haven't heard from Harrison yet. Ian, go and grab a seat, just like everybody else, please. We know you want to talk. We're getting to new voices, okay?
Okay, so I'm not really sure what you're talking about before, but I'll start here.
All right, that's fine. Shift the debate. That's fine.
Well, I think that it was a war for freedom because it kind of escalated up to the war in the first place because of slavery, and President Lincoln got elected by anti-slavery people. That in turn started the Civil War because the Southerners wanted him as president.
Okay, let's get to Austin.
Okay, so like you said, slavery, Harrison. But if you take a look at slavery, it's not exactly the most free
Institution.
institution.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Because I understand that they wanted freedom to secede, but they weren't exactly taking freedom with them because they want slavery, and that's not freedom. That's captivity and suffering.
Let's hear from Allison, or Allison hasn't talked yet. Yeah, I know, but she started us off.
Well, that's true. The whole Civil War wasn't just about slavery. It was about reuniting the nation and making it a free nation. But I have a question, it's like going back to what we were talking about a while ago. What, if you guys don't think the whole Civil War was about freedom, then what exactly do you think the main purpose of the Civil War was?
Nice. And I think that's a great technique in a debate is, let's figure out what we're talking about here. So they've said it, but now let's clarify. Let's hear from Caden or...
Okay. Back to the inaugural address. He says...
So Allison asked a specific question. Allison, I want you to ask it again.
If you don't think the Civil War's main purpose was freedom, then what do you think it was?
Okay.
Independence.
Talking stick, please. Caden's got it.
In his inaugural address, he says it's about unification, not slaves. I have no purpose directly or indirectly to interfere with the institution of slavery in the states where it exists. I believe I have no lawful right to do so, and I have no inclination to do so. The very words of Abraham Lincoln's mouth stated that it wasn't about slaves, but unifying the country as a whole. This was necessary because of the vast differences between the North and South social differences. The North's lifestyle was more industrial and city-like, while the South was mainly plantations and farming.
Okay, put that thing away. Give it to us now. Tell us what you told us. Because you just gave us a lot of information, so let's take a little bite-sized chunk here. And give it to us in the words of Caden not reading, because they're going to fall asleep. So what are you saying?
So what I'm saying is, it was about...
You started off with the inauguration.
They had different, South and North, they had difficult understandings, so that's what caused the separation of, leaving the Union. So, what it's saying, Abraham's not going to, take the slave, he's going to, he wants to unify the nation, doesn't want to, I don't know.
Okay. Can I maybe have somebody on this team clarify what Caden was saying? Because, Caden, what you read in your essay was really good. It was just...
Too much.
It was just too much information at once. So I just want to clarify for them, so they can respond.
He's pretty much just saying that Abraham Lincoln, at the beginning of the war, stated directly that it was not a war, it had nothing to do with slavery. He was not fighting a war at all for slavery or for freedom. He was fighting the war to keep the Union together.
Okay. To the other side, we've got Vanessa. Her hand's new. Thank you for your patience, those of you that have had your hand up for 20 minutes.
Well, I heard Caden say earlier that President Lincoln wasn't for slavery. So if he wanted nothing to do with slavery, then why would he make the Emancipation Proclamation issued in 1863 that freed all enslaved people to enslave?
All right. Can we hear from Austin? We've heard from I know we've heard from almost everybody on this team, but we've only heard from Austin once.
Okay, so going back, like you said, they mentioned the proclamation. It did free slaves, but not everywhere. It clearly says that it freed slaves in Union control, not in Confederate control, but just Union. So that doesn't mean it's freedom for slaves in the Union, but not for the Confederate side.
Cool. Let's give the talking stick. Everybody's talked, so pick your poison.
Okay.
No, let's go to the other side. We'll keep trying to alternate so it stays fair.
So, go back to what Caden and Maddie said. Okay, yes, so all that stuff happened. He said that he wanted to unify the nation, but so slavery again wasn't the only type of freedom that was being fought for in the Civil War. So you guys keep bringing up slavery. Yeah, okay, he wasn't for slavery, but the South was also fighting because they wanted independence from the North, which is also freedom. And then along with that, Abraham Lincoln wanted to unify the Union based on the freedom that was established when the nation was founded. So the unification of the Union and the Confederacy was based on freedom that the nation was founded on. Stephen wants to add to that. Can you give it to me?
Let's go to this side. They wanted to add, and I made a switch. So we'll do the same thing. To keep it fair. There's a little debate sass in that throw.
So can I go back to what Vanessa said?
Sure.
So we're saying that Abraham Lincoln said that the war was not the war, not just in general. The war was not about slavery.
What do you mean? What do you mean the war, not just in general? You mean like individual battles, or what do you mean by that?
No, the war in general, like the whole
Okay.
entire war, was not for slavery.
Okay.
But Abraham Lincoln believed that after he unified the nation, that he was going to take care of slavery. So that's like we're saying that he wasn't not that he wasn't for slavery, or that not that he was for slavery. So because that was kind of your question, we're saying he wasn't for slavery. So that's why did he put that out there? We're saying that he wasn't for slavery. He didn't believe that's what the war was for, but he was not for slavery in general, so he wanted to get rid of it after he unified the nation.
So to clarify, you're saying that you don't disagree that Abraham Lincoln was opposed to slavery. It just wasn't the purpose for the war, because he stated from the beginning that it wasn't a war about slavery. In fact, there's some really good quotes, if any of you remember, from his inauguration speech, Caden got to one, where he said that it was a war to solidify the Union. The point was the Union, that slavery was just kind of another effect that went with. I'll let you talk because I don't want to put words in your mouth.
So, like, just to clarify for you, Vanessa, like, we're not saying that that there was no reason for the proclamation. I can't say it.
Emancipation Proclamation.
Out there. It was just that he didn't, in the beginning of the war, he did not believe it was a war for slavery or for freedom.
Let's get to Steven. Let's get to Steven. He's had his hand up for like 3 days.
Okay, so first of all, when you started talking, you pretty much said that Abraham Lincoln was the only person that was not for slavery. Like, well, not really not for slavery. He was the only one who basically made the war.
What did she say?
We're basically asking for more evidence because all they keep bringing up is Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah.
Okay, so go ahead and ask the question in your own words, not Taylor talking for you.
So anyway,
sorry.
Basically, first of all, the only thing you guys have really been talking about, your only piece of like evidence or source, yeah, you know what I mean.
Supporting evidence.
Has been the inauguration speech that President Abraham Lincoln gave. But really, that was at the beginning of the war, and he was sort of saying, "I'm pretty sure the war is going to be like this." And then later, the Gettysburg Address is, "The war is this."
So are you saying, Stephen, that the war started off a war to unify the country, but it became something different?
Yeah,
it became a war for freedom?
Yeah.
Okay. And you're asking for more evidence other than the inauguration speech?
Yeah, and then I have another point.
Let's go ahead, finish this last point, and then we'll go count. We'll ask for more evidence, and then we'll go back to you. Then we'll go back to them, and then
Didn't they start?
class A over. No, so they'll get the last word. Go ahead.
Another thing is that we've been talking about freedom, of course. Freedom is sort of not just the physical aspects; it's also the mental aspects and what other people think. And so you need to sort of look at it from the slave's point of view, the Confederate's point of view, and the Union's point of view. And overall, I mean, the slaves, some of them even stopped fighting for the Confederacy, escaped, and instead of just freeing themselves, they actually fought for their freedom on the Union side.
Fought for it.
So, and they stopped fighting for the Confederacy and started fighting again.
Like Robert Smalls?
Yes, exactly, Robert Smalls.
Okay, let's get to this side. You brought up a lot of interesting points.
Okay, first off, our only evidence wasn't only from Abraham Lincoln, it was also about the fact that the Union and the Confederacy disagreed with anti and federalism. And also, our only evidence wasn't from Abraham Lincoln. There were many debates that were recorded back in between 1860 and 1862 about such as many debates. I cannot. Such as Harrison.
Go ahead and let him finish. Go ahead and let him finish. Go ahead and let him finish. Go ahead, Peyton.
And they were recorded, and all of them were mostly about the fact that they believed that this power should be given to the states, not the federal government. Yet the Union agreed that the Union wanted a more mostly federalism society.
All right. We're gonna go ahead and fire away.
I have the talking stick.
Was the Civil War a war for freedom?
Scott, may I have my eraser?
He threw the talking stick to me.
Oh.
You took it.
No, what?
The Civil War was a war for freedom. No matter how you interpret the word freedom, for bad or for good, Because freedom enslaved the slaves. Because people thought they had freedom to take the slaves.
Pause. I want you to just go ahead. Start that over. Start that over. And say it again. Just say it again, but
Freedom
maybe more
enslaved
clearly.
slaves.
Scott, you lose point. You don't need to talk. You don't have to talk.
Recording?
Go ahead, Rexy. Start us off again.
Okay.
Why was it a war for freedom, Rex?
Well, there was a war for freedom because the Confederates wanted free labor, and so they thought they had the freedom to own slaves because how about I just hand off?
Okay, nope. Pass off to this other side. Because the Confederacy wanted the freedom to own slaves. So, Dave?
It's hard to explain.
On the slavery issue, the North wanted to free the slaves, but I wouldn't necessarily say they wanted it so that these slaves, it's not this big idea of, oh, let's free the slaves, they're going to be people now. No, the reason they wanted to free the slaves and have them count as citizens is that it'd count as more people for their state.
Okay.
So, I don't think they were in the slaves' best interest for this, and they wanted to have the slaves in the army so that they would be willing to fight for their brothers.
Okay.
So I would not say it was a war for freedom.
So would you say it was a war more about population size?
Population.
Gaining representatives?
It's mostly in political aspects.
Okay.
They're more interested in the government than in the people personally.
Than necessarily freeing the slaves. Okay.
Okay. Well, even if you say that it was because of population and you're saying it's not about a war for freedom, if you free the African Americans, it's still gonna be a war about freedom. Just it's freedom for different purposes. So what you were saying, it's not a war for freedom because of that. It's still a war for freedom just for their own benefit, not for the African Americans' benefit. Okay.
So, Scott, if I'm understanding you correctly, and I want to put words in your mouth, that's why I'm trying to clarify your ideas, is are you saying that, yes, population size was a factor in regards to wanting to free the slaves,
Exactly.
but whether that was the main issue or not,
It was still
what really
a war
matters,
for
it was
freedom.
about freeing the slaves so they could be
in order
citizens.
to do that.
Okay, all right. So I just wanted to clarify.
It was for different benefits.
All right, so let's set the talking stick over the other side. Nash has a broken hand.
Alright. I think that the Civil War, wasn't about population and it wasn't about freedom. It was about politics. And the only reason that the South and the North went into war was because the North wanted the South to rejoin the country. And it wasn't about slaves, and yeah, the slaves came from the North and from the South and fought for them, but it wasn't really about freedom. The war was. I mean, there was some things about slaves intermixed in the war, but the main purpose of the war was not about freedom, it was about politics.
We got some new hands. We got Caterade, we got Alex, we have Eric.
Does it matter?
Nope, your call. Your call.
Pass it
Alright,
over
Kate.
here.
Oh, okay.
And the girls are
Right, so, wait, do I have to stand up or do I sit down? Or?
Sure, stand up.
So you say it's like about they wanted the South to like join the states again, or whatever. The reason why they seceded was because they didn't get what they want, and one of the reasons why they seceded is because they wanted slavery and the North didn't, and so they seceded. So again, it goes back to the roots of it, which was slavery.
So, Kate, are you saying you're right? It was political reasons. Are you saying you're right? It was political reasons, and because of those reasons, the South wanted to secede and be independent.
No, I'm saying.
Is that what you're getting at?
No, I'm saying it was partially for political, but when you go back to the roots of it, it
Okay.
was slavery.
Oh, okay.
That caused them to secede, and it was because they wanted them to rejoin.
Okay, so you're saying that slavery kind of underpins
Yeah, even if you didn't
the
see it
the
directly,
political
it was
reasons.
under the surface.
Okay, all right, okay, well said.
I got a question.
Okay, so you're saying that in the roots of it, that it was for slavery?
Yeah.
Well, the question is, was it for freedom? A lot of the factors about it was about slavery, but not about whether or not to set them free or not. A lot of what, one of the reasons why the South seceded from the Union was because of the new territory gained after the Mexican War. They had a lot of, the Western Territory across from the Appalachian Mountains, and so the South obviously wanted them to be slave states, and the North wanted them to be free states. So there was this conflict about it, and it kept going back and forth. And at the time, Congress kind of favored the North, and also when
Because Congress had, the northern states had larger populations, right? So in the Senate, they all had the same representatives, but in the House of Representatives, the North had more representatives. So it was kind of a more northern favored. So just to kind of give you a little background on why you're right. Okay.
And also, the final straw for the South was when President Lincoln was elected president in 1960. They believed that he favored Northernist interests, and they also didn't want the government telling them what to do, so that's why they seceded.
So, Alex, are you saying that slavery was obviously an issue, right? And it was an issue with new states that joined the Union. It was a problem with the new territories that were acquired.
Yeah.
And slavery was a problem. However, the war wasn't about freeing slaves. It was about...
There was a lot of political and territorial things and borders that were involved with it.
Okay, so come back to your political reasons. Okay, great. All right, let's pass that talking stick over. We haven't heard from Alex or Eric yet. They both have their hands up.
Okay, so when you're saying, like, war for freedom, it's not necessarily the freedom of slaves. It could be freedom for other reasons, like political freedoms. Like you said, the South thought that Lincoln favored the North, and he was taking away their freedom to have slaves for their political freedoms. So, on the Western Territories also, they were fighting whether to make the Western Territories free or enslaved. So, like, regardless of anything, everything has something to do with keeping something enslaved or free, or freedoms being taken away or kept.
If you're the only hand up, well, raise your hand and he'll choose. We haven't heard from Nathan yet, so we would go to the new hand. New hand trumps old hands. Is standing up making you guys super nervous? Is it making you guys more nervous to stand?
I like it.
Okay, if you want to stand, stand. If you want to sit, sit. I don't want to cause you any more stress than you already have. All right, Nathan, what do you say to that?
In President Lincoln's first inaugural speech, he said that he did not want to interfere indirectly or directly with the issue of slavery, and he also had said that if any of the states were to harm the perfect union, that it could not be a perfect union. So his goal was to bring the states back together, showing no care or worry about this issue of slavery or freedom or anything else.
Great job summarizing those quotes. That was really good.
Can I talk again?
Just raise your hand. Raise your hand. If everybody's talked, he can choose anybody. If somebody has not talked yet, like Eric, he trumps all.
Well, the North kind of wanted to rejoin the two nations to get back to creating a nation that was based on freedom and for freedom of the people. And so, yeah, it was just really important that they got back together and were free. So it was the war for freedom. Have you talked yet? No. You either?
Mercade and Jack are newbies. Welcome to the game. Welcome to Fight Club. Okay.
Fight Club.
You should not have seen that. Go ahead, Mercade.
The reasons for the North wanting to rejoin with the South was also for reasons of the resources that they had. The South had a lot of cotton-based supplies and food in gigantic farms that were mainly southern farms. The North was the manufacturing. They took the raw goods that the South provided and they turned them into materials and supplies that the North and everyone needed here. And the South was the supplier of those things. Without that, the North is just dust in the wind. It's nothing without the South. It had no reason to exist without it.
So what's your point in regards to freedom? So you're right, we've definitely got some, there's sectional differences, which you just brought up. Agriculture, manufacturing, taking raw goods, turning them into...
I can continue here if you want me to.
So explain, connect it to the freedom issue.
Connect this to the freedom?
Yeah, yeah.
Not necessarily more freedom, I'm trying to get at more political.
Okay.
And, agricultural values, how the South had the more agricultural and the North the manufacturing societies. And if you look back even farther in time, like let's go back even like federal government issues. How the South even before they were a confederacy, wanted the federal government to have less power and empower the states instead of the power that the people would give the government.
Can I jump in and ask you a question?
Sure.
Are you saying that there is an economic issue here, and that the North needed the South for their own economies, and so the war was about forcing them to reunify in the country because economically they were dependent on the South? Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm trying to.
Okay, all right. No. Well, I like what you said. I just want to clarify to make sure we're all connecting here.
Okay.
So, pick a poison. Who's going to be? Shh. Ladies, if you can just...
Okay, I want to restate what I said earlier, but make it more clear.
Thank you.
So, back then there was multiple definitions for the word freedom, whether it was good or bad. Like they thought they had the freedom to secede because that's what it said in the Constitution. That's how they interpreted the Constitution. But other people didn't interpret it that way. But like different people can interpret the word freedom differently. But the war was a war for freedom, for bad or for good.
Okay.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
Did I give you one right? This ideal of the war being for freedom may have been an afterthought, because it sounds good to say they were fighting for the freedom of these poor slaves. But if you think about it at the time...
Can I ask you, do you think that was a political move?
Yes.
Okay.
I think that what they had on mind at the time is that they need the South to be part of them. It's dangerous to have a rival nation that's so large and so close to them. They needed the resources that the South had. And slavery was an issue. They didn't necessarily agree with it. But before this happened, no one was making a big move to end it. So I don't think they'd all of a sudden just decide to try to move to free all these people. Slavery was part of it. It became part of it during the war, but the war itself was not fought for freedom. It was fought for political reasons and regional differences.
All right. Let's hear from Ryan. We haven't heard from
I didn't see Ryan.
Rhino Trumps.
Yeah, I'm done.
You're the spade.
So in response to Daya's thing, even though it
Ladies, let's make sure we're listening.
Political move, it was still a move to free the slaves. So it was still a war for freedom, and maybe at the beginning of the war, it wasn't a war for freedom, but it became a war for freedom by the middle or the end.
Let's hear. I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna go back, and then you're gonna get the last word because they started off with Rex's thing.
Hey, I restated it.
Megan, you wanna add in? I've been seeing you scribbling some notes. You only got 2 more chances.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's hear from Megan. I've been watching her scribble down some amazing things there.
That's great.
Since the South had a lot of resources that the North needed, President Lincoln even stated in his inaugural address that he would do anything to regain the South, even if that meant freeing the slaves as a sort of punishment to the South so they would come back to the Union. And so the main purpose of the war wasn't to free slaves, but if it had to be done, then it would be, but it wasn't the main reason why the war was started.
Okay,
It
all
was
right.
to bring them back to the South.
Well said. These are all second talkers. So let's hear from Scott or Ryan. We've heard from Alex a few times.
Oh, what? You just got it.
Heck yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah. So as I said before, you're talking about how it was just a way to punish the South, but it was still freedom. They were still freeing the slaves.
Well, I wouldn't say that they said it was a way to punish. The Civil War wasn't meant to.
That's what she said.
Did you use the word punish? Oh, okay.
Yes. The slaves were free to punish the South.
Oh, the slaves. I'm sorry. I thought you meant the. I thought you were saying the North was trying to punish the South.
No,
Okay. All right. Sorry. Continue
And
on.
you said that the original part of the war, or the original reason of the war, was just to get the South back. But and then it became a way to punish the South by freeing the slaves. But that's still freedom. That's still them freeing the slaves. So it's still a war for freedom.
That's what I'm saying.
And we'll continue. I got my time wrong when we're done. We'll go back and forth a few more times. I got the time wrong. So we'll bounce it. We can bounce it back.
It's still
intercepted.
Can we not let the talking stick be a distraction, please?
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
Oh, Rachel.
Rachel hasn't talked yet.
Okay.
When you freed the slaves,
He said that the slaves would be free only in the land or rebellion. And like that kind of like.
Can you guys hear that over there?
I can hear it a little bit.
Go ahead.
Say it louder.
Yeah, say it louder, because Caroline likes you want to hear what you say.
When he freed the slaves, he said that
When
the
who did?
slaves would be free only in the land or rebellion. And Abraham Lincoln said that, and that kind of meant like the war was kind of like a war for freedom, but not really like slavery.
Okay.
Kind of like.
So, question. So, are you saying that the war was for freedom because of what
No,
Abraham
it
Lincoln said?
wasn't. It like. Can I help out here?
She's switching sides.
Let's go ahead. Let's hear from Alex real quick. Then we'll go back over here.
When Lincoln declared his
The Emancipation
Proclamation. When he announced his Emancipation Proclamation that slaves were free, he declared that it was only in the South where the area was rebelling. He declared them free. And at the time, his Secretary of Defense, he quoted that they were helping the slaves where they couldn't help them, but leaving the slaves where they could help them and left them in slavery, because they still had like I believe two or three states that were still in the Union that had slavery, and so they didn't want to like make them look like the bad guys, so they only declared freedom in the land where they couldn't help them.
Okay, let's hear from Scott. He's been going through an exercise of willpower. Yeah.
Let's go, give me the stick.
Taya.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Scott, good job waiting for your turn.
Thank you. Okay, Nathan, I'm going to kind of use your words against you. Well,
I like how you say, I'm about to slay you before you do.
Well, what Nathan said is in his Abraham Lincoln's speech, he said he would do whatever was necessary to bring the states together again.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
That was
Evan?
That wasn't, you're right, that was Megan, but that wasn't, you're right.
What? I heard him say something about
That was
like.
Megan.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Well then, in response to Megan.
Nathan was quoting Lincoln's inaugural address where he was saying that he had no purpose or intention.
And he said like that, like he would do whatever he needed.
Nathan, do you want to clarify what you said? Since Scott's going to refer to it anyways.
Yeah.
Megan said that.
What I said was that in Lincoln's first inaugural speech that he said that he did not feel the obligation or need to interfere with the issue of slavery directly or indirectly, and he had no inclination to do so, which meant that he didn't believe in doing anything about it and just leaving it the way it was.
Okay, Scott, do you still want to make your comment?
And it's going to be kind of Megan's.
Okay, Megan, do you want to clarify what you said real quick
Yeah, I said that in.
Just so we're all talking about the same thing. It doesn't make sense to argue against something that wasn't said. So.
Also in his inaugural address, he did state that he would be willing to do anything it took to bring back the South.
You're right.
Okay, and when he says that he's willing to do anything, how do you know that he's not meaning do anything? Like focus on slavery, that's doing something about, like that's focusing on the South's needs. And he said he would do anything necessary to bring them together. So why do you say that he completely ignored the idea of slavery and completely said that's not worth it when he said he would do anything needed to bring them back together?
Let's hear from Lauren. We haven't heard from Lauren for a while. Or Jack, is that a hand raise? Is that a hand raise?
Okay, yeah, I can go.
All right, we'll hear from Jack.
But that doesn't make it a move for freedom. It was a strategic move because it took out most of the Confederates' workforce. It made it so they had to leave soldiers to guard slaves who escaped. And also... Yeah, I'm
Small.
Okay.
Robert Small.
And,
Finish.
And also it raised support for the war in the North, which was sort of declining.
Mhm.
So it was just a strategic move so they could get the South's resources back and unite the Union.
Can I ask Jack, do you really know, I'm putting you on the spot here, and maybe I can kind of open this to your team a little bit. Do you really know that that the things that Lincoln said were more of a political move in regards to trying to gain black support, to gain more Union fighters, to gain more political support in the North for the war? Like, do you guys have evidence to support that? And I'm gonna, anybody on this team can answer that.
Well, okay.
You can talk.
No, let's hear. We've heard quite a bit from Alex. Let's hear from Dea or
Well,
Lauren.
I researched-
No, let's hear from Lauren. We haven't heard from Lauren as much as you and Alex.
I feel that there's no specific proof because there's no journals or speeches that say if this is clearly a strategic move. Okay, there might be. From what I know, there's not.
Okay.
But throughout history, until slavery was abolished after slavery, there were like black people working in the White House. I'm not for sure, but I'm guessing that Abraham Lincoln he's the president. I'm almost positive he had several African American slaves doing this. So
not slaves, but
people,
Right.
free people
that
are
working
still
for
working
him
for him.
in the White House. And so I'm guessing that he wouldn't have taken out a big part of his servants to just like give away.
All right. Let's get to Alex, and then I'll give you guys like 3 or 4 chances to talk. Okay, to even it out. Let's get to Alex. I feel like you have burning evidence that's going to support what Lauren said. So.
Wait.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to Alex. I feel like she has burning evidence that's going to support, because Lauren gave us a lot of opinions, so did Jack. I want to see if you guys can actually provide evidence that Lincoln was using using freedom more as a political tool to gain support, not necessarily the purpose of the war.
Okay, go.
Well, we do know that Lincoln was a white superior believer. So he believed that whites were superior than Africans. And also, more abolitionists. There was sympathy for the abolitionists, and he was also kind of pressured into freeing slaves because of all the abolitionists that were in the North. And again, it was also a strategic move to get the blacks to fight in the war, so that they would have citizenship to fight in the war as soldiers that were needed in the Union Army.
Okay, I'm gonna cut you guys off. Let's get to this other side.
I want to finish.
Oh shoot.
I know you do.
Okay.
All right, go ahead, Rexy.
So you guys are saying that this isn't a war for freedom, but what do you guys think about Harriet Tubman and Nat Turner and Robert Smalls, who all wanted their freedom? Nat Turner led a bloody rebellion. Robert Smalls stole a Confederate ship for freedom.
So Rex, are you saying it's a war for freedom because black people, slaves at the time, were fighting for their freedom?
Yeah.
Okay, and you gave us some specific people.
They would make
or necessarily they weren't always fighting. They could
One at a time. He's got the stick.
They could run away, like hide during the day and run at night, and they were just trying to get freedom.
Okay.
For themselves.
Alex, you want to piggyback on that?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll give you guys a few.
Kind of.
Go ahead, give him the stick.
Yes. Okay, so I have something to add.
And then I'll let you guys finish this off, okay?
Stats.
Okay.
Yes, adding to his.
Shh, Auden, stick with it.
I'm adding, Megan and Nathan both said that Lincoln didn't want anything to do with it. If he didn't want anything to do with freeing slaves, why would he have a part of the Constitution passed to say that all slaves are free? If he didn't want anything to do with it, why would he do that?
I just said that.
Okay.
Shh, be quiet. And
I don't like the way you said it, but Alex, he's right. Nobody else. No Alex on Alex crime. Let him talk, okay?
In the first line of Lincoln's Gettysburg Address, it says the United States was established to be a free nation where all men are created equal. Later on, he talks about that this nation under God
listening is
shall
really
have
important.
a new birth of freedom, and that the government of the people, by the people, for the people, should not perish from the earth. That clearly states that this nation was meant to be free. In Lincoln's inaugural address, he states that he is asserted to take a new oath.
You lost your stick.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
To preserve and protect the United States Constitution.
I'm gonna cut off your quote there. I'm gonna cut off your quote because they deserve the final word since you guys started. So, Mr. Cook, what say you?
Well, so when Abraham Lincoln, right? Is it Abraham?
Yes.
Okay. But when he made that they allowed them to be free and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
did they? I don't.
That's okay. Go ahead, Evan.
So
Let him talk. Go ahead.
they didn't really have any freedom, except they weren't like known as property anymore. They didn't have any rights technically.
Ooh.
But they just
Evan, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. I want to help you maybe get some clarity. Alex, you need to stop. Everybody needs to stop. Okay. Are you saying that freeing slaves was certainly part of the Civil War? However, after the Civil War was concluded, freedom really wasn't experienced by a lot of slaves? Is that what you're saying?
Rights to do anything. They just weren't known as property anymore.
Okay. And on that.